رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي. Amazing, another amazing example of the Quran's miracle. Man, I can't believe it. If people haven't seen this, they've read all the fiction and literature of the world and they haven't seen the Quran, I just feel bad for them. They're missing out on the biggest, most amazing, mind-blowing piece of literature. So in today's example, I'll be comparing two verses, one from chapter 36, verse 63, Surah Ya-Seen, which talks about the bad people on the day of judgment, and they're being told, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Hadi jahannam allati kuntum tu'adun." This is the hellfire which you were promised. However, chapter 52, Surah At-Tur, verse number 14 says, "Hadi naru allati kuntum biha tukadhibun." This is the fire which you used to deny. Now, you can see the difference, right? The first verse says, "This is the fire which you were promised." Surah At-Tur says, "This is the fire which you used to deny." Now, to appreciate, of course, the beauty, I'm going to show you from several angles. The first angle I'm going to show you is perhaps the most obvious one, that in the context is that where it says, "This is the fire which you were promised" in chapter 36, the context talks about promises. So if I start from verse number 48, it says, "And they will say, when is this promise if you should be truthful," right? And then verse number 52 says, they will say, "Woe to us, who has raised us up from our sleeping?" The reply will be, "This is what the most merciful had promised, and the messengers told the truth." And then verse number 6, I think it's 60, which says, "Did I not enjoin upon you, O children of Adam, that you do not worship Satan?" So it's all about promises, pacts, and making agreements. The context is about that. So thus it was much appropriate to say here, "This is the hellfire which you were promised." However, of course, the context in Surah At-Tur, which says, "This is the fire which you used to deny," it's about them denying it. In verse number 11, if you see, it says, "Then woe that day to the deniers." Simply thus, this is the fire which you used to deny. Very, very obvious use of language from the context. But let me show you a couple of more angles. Notice that this chapter, Surah Ya-Seen, chapter 36, where it says, "The hellfire which you were promised," the doers of this action of promising are not these people, but somebody is giving them a promise, right? Action is being done on them, right? Whereas in Surah At-Tur, they used to deny, they're the ones who are doing the action of denial. But in Surah Ya-Seen, the action is being done on them. They were being promised. So you will see in the context in Surah Ya-Seen, where the action is being done on them, they are being stopped from taking action, or actions are being forced upon them, right? They're not doing actions of their own will. So if I start from verse 48, if I show you the context, they will say, "When is this promise?" Next verse, "They do not await except one blast which will seize them." The action is being done upon them while they are disputing, and they will not be able, now they're being stopped from doing an action, they will not be able to give any instruction, nor to their people can they return. And the horn will be blown, and at once from the graves to the Lord they will hasten. They will have to. They've been forced to. They will say, "Oh, woe to us! Who has raised us up?" Action is being done upon them. They're being raised, right, from our sleeping. This is what most merciful had promised. It will not be but one blast, and at once they are all brought present before us. They will have to come, even if they don't want to. And then no soul will be wronged, and you will not be recompensed except for what you used to do. So you will have to be, the bad people will have to be given their recompense, right? And then after talking about the people of paradise, it says, "Then but stand apart today, you criminals." They will have to stand apart. They will not enjoin upon you, children of Adam, so and so. And then even after this verse, he said, "He had already led astray from among you much of creation." So they are being led astray. They're not doing the action. The action is being done upon them. And then even the next verse 64 says, "Burn therein today." They will have to burn, being forced. And then the next verse 65, "That day we will seal over their mouths, and their hands will speak to us, and their feet will testify." Everything being forced upon them, right? So it's much more appropriate to where the actions are being forced upon them, that an action be mentioned which was told to them, that was done to them, that is, they were promised. However, in Surah At-Tur, where it says, "You used to deny," they're doing the action, you will see that they are the ones who are actually doing the action of denying. "Then woe that day to the deniers," and then their action is mentioned in the next verse, "who are in empty discourse amusing themselves." Subhanallah. And even then, even though this mentioned the day they are thrust towards the fire with a violent thrust, the next verse, it says, "Then is this magic, or do you not see?" The next verse even talks in the fire about their own action. "Enter to burn therein, then be patient or impatient. it is all the same for you. You are only being recompensed for what you used to do. And this is the second angle. And even if you see it from a third angle, another angle, the next verse in Surah Ya-Seen, where it talks about being promised, it says, burn therein today for what you used to deny. Bima kuntum takfurun, right? What you used to disbelieve, it says in Arabic, right? If, of course, a promise was made to them, they denied it, right? You can deny linguistically, you can deny a promise. But in Surah At-Tur, it says, you are only being recompensed for what you used to do. They're the ones who used to deny, right? So you are being recompensed. Linguistically, you are being recompensed for what you used to do, your action. You're not denying an action, but you're being recompensed for what you used to do, right? And in Surah Ya-Seen, you're being burning for what you used to deny or used to disbelieve in. That is a promise. That is also, subhanallah, linguistically accurate. So subhanallah, from so many angles, the hellfire which you were promised, the context is about making promises. And this is an action. The context is about actions being done on you forcefully, because there's a promise which is being made to you. And then finally, of course, you're being burned then for what you used to deny, because linguistically you can deny a promise, right? Or disbelief in it. However, Surah At-Tur, where it says, this is the fire which you used to deny, the context is about them denying. The actions are the ones they're taking themselves, and it talks about you're only being recompensed for what you used to do. They are the ones who are doing the action of denying. Subhanallah. So just think about it. Forget even the Qur'an. How can one writer in this world even think about thinking from so many angles before writing a book? How impossible is this? And even this is just one angle. These are like a couple of angles I've shown. This is just the linguistic side of it, and this is one part of the linguistic side that I'm showing you. There's so many linguistic miracles in the Qur'an, and there's so many numerical, and God knows how many numerical and scientific miracles there are, and how many other miracles there are. Subhanallah, how can a person, it's just impossible for a human being to write a book. So may God give us complete conviction in the Qur'an as a word of God. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.